Recording properly.
Okay, I think we are going to start. I have to admit a few people in. There we go. Joan, did you want to do the roll?
Okay, Michael. Joanne,
Huh?
Jean,
What?
Nate,
Yep.
Stephanie,
Hi.
Yanni,
Here.
Jeanette,
No,
Dan,
You.
Karen,
not yet, but she usually runs a little bit late.
Jessica,
Here.
Delisa,
She is on.
she's online.
Yep.
Okay. I'll make that one, all right, Thor.
Here.
Okay, I hear him say here, okay, that's it, oh, Paul's here. And Rebecca's online,
That's right.
sorry.
All
We have
right.
a quorum, that's for sure tonight.
We sure do.
That's
Thank you
good.
all for coming. We've got a really packed agenda, so we're gonna have a little bit different agenda than we typically are. Board members, you'll be receiving the financials via email tomorrow, and we'll digitally approve them just to kind of keep the housekeeping items short. I know that as soon as the presentations are done tonight, you're all gonna wanna fly out the door, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention, we have the Kaboom build July 25th, 26th, and 27th. You probably saw my desperately crying email saying you definitely need volunteers, especially on Saturday. If you can do an hour, we'll take you. If you can do half a day, we'll take you. We'll take whatever we can get. We need about 100 volunteers that day, and so far we have 16 lined up. So tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your enemies, tell anybody that you want to come on over to Hayden Heights Rec Center on Saturday, the 27th. You can register that day. You don't need to pre-register. Just show up and we will hand you a shovel. So, all right, well, we are going to start tonight's meeting with Craig Coyle from TKDA. Craig, do you want to introduce your team?
Yeah, I can do that. Thanks, Lisa. Craig Coyle with TKD. I'm a project manager in the architecture group, leading the design for Xcel Energy's new service center, which will be in the Heights. With me, I've got Lee Stokes, project manager from Xcel Energy. Amanda White is the architect on the project. Travis Breeze is with McGough, and then we've also got people with Xcel Energy's distribution to answer any questions. Jake and Eric. I will go ahead and screen.
Craig, can I ask you a favor?
Yes,
Speak louder.
I can do that.
Sorry,
No, that's
we don't have microphones, but
screen. I don't. Okay, so up on the screen there. So yes, so we're going through Xcel Energy New St. Paul Service Center. Just to want to kind of run through the design where it's at and as start talking about it as we transition into construction. So just very briefly, project team, again, working closely with the St. Paul Port Authority. Xcel Energy, TKDA is the lead for the design team. And then we've also got Walker Parking Consultants as well as Willvan doing energy modeling for the project. And then on the construction side of it, McGough is going to be the general contractor, and a couple of their trade partners that they've got on board to help with design assist is Shattuck Mechanical and Gephardt Electric. So just to give a little bit of background on the project, Xcel currently is serving the East Metro territory out of their Rice Street facility. Kind of located just a little bit northwest of downtown St. Paul. The current facility, they've been there for many years, and
close to 100.
So, and the space is really just they're running out of space. I think is the biggest thing with it. You know, service territories change, new customers, really things just continue to evolve. So looking for some more space to better serve their customers. So With that, I've got a little map down in the corner here of the Heights development. So Xcel Energy's property is kind of centrally located, block 4 within the development. So kind of your bearings, McKnight, Larpenteur up at the very north end of the site. Arlington will extend into the development to Howard Street, which is the barrier for the habitat of the. So just to give everybody a little bit of background on service center operations, so this is really the workforce for Xcel Energy. Their gas and electric field ops crews operate out of these facilities, so all the trucks that are coming out to either install or maintain service on the gas and electric side, that's where they're housed out of. As well as this facility is a little bit unique in that it is the gas control headquarters, so this is where they're managing and all of the gas throughout the East Metro. And then gas dispatch, a large portion of this site is material storage and handling. So transformers, electric reels, all the materials that the crews use out in the field are staged at these sites. And then in addition to that, Xcel has the robust fleet, so they do site maintenance staff that work on their vehicles. So kind of going through some of the items that we've got here. The next one, wanted to start diving into the site. So general site layout, as I mentioned, with the intersecting streets that are on there, we've got McKnight on the east side, Howard on the west, and then Arlington on the south side of the site. It is going to be a 3-story building, mixed use. So we'll get into the building a little bit more, but wanted to go through the site. So the service center is the large building centrally located on the site. And then there's a fleet building that will be separate on the east side of the site. We've got 3 entrances coming into the site. The primary one is number 1 shown on the site plan off of Arlington. So that's where the majority of the line crews, the Xcel Energy vehicles will be going in and out of the site, accessing from Arlington. And then as we continue around the corner to Howard Street on the west side, entry number 2 is for employees and visitors coming into the service center. With trying to conserve some of the space on the site, stack the program. So the employee parking is actually at the roof of a portion of the service center. So as we get into the building, you'll see that a little bit more, but visitor parking along the west side. And then on the north side of the site, or northwest corner rather, access number 3 is really intended as a backup entry exit out of the storage laydown space. Everybody knows that, Xcel Energy is they're out there if there's natural disaster, power outages, or whatever it may be. So having a secondary access point so that it can get in and out of that site is critical. So and then as we get into the renderings a little bit more, it'll show a little bit more detail, but with the lay down storage space and vehicle storage, we're really creating kind of a campus model with that. So there will be a screen wall that's going around that. So we kind of go around to the different views of it. You'll see that really we're looking at the community's view of this facility and really trying to minimize the impact of a traditional service center. And so as we get into the building layout, kind of as I mentioned previously, the main functions of the building, there's a 3-story office area. That's where a lot of the engineers, dispatch, crew quarters, things like that are housed out of the office area. And then with the lower level, kind of this lighter blue area, that's vehicle storage, so getting a lot of those vehicles, in a covered environment so that they are ready for emergency response to be able to get out and work in the field. And then, as we go through the various colors or shades of blue, the next, darker color, that's warehouse, and tool storage for the line crews. And then the back portion of the building here, the darker blue, that's the shop areas where they're doing a lot of their fabrication. And moving up to the second level, as I mentioned, so that's the employee parking that we've got stacked on top of the vehicle storage on the lower level. Again, continuing that stack above the office, on the west side of the building, and then the shops, several of those have a high bay, they've got large pieces of pipe or material that they're handling, so some overhead, hoists in those areas. And then the third level of the building is, again, more office space with a connecting link that goes between the two over the employee parking access. And then, as I mentioned on the site plan, the other additional building that will be on the site will be the fleet building for, maintenance of their line equipment. So, then maybe Amanda, I can turn it over to you, and if you want to go through the aesthetics and.
Yes, so, over the past few years, actually, we've been working with Excel on what this building needs to do to function for them. And then we've been working with the Port Authority and LHB to work within, guidelines, design guidelines, so that this community of the Heights is cohesive as a whole. So whether it's industrial or residential, when you're driving through the Heights, you feel like it was, planned, if you will, and it's attractive and it's pedestrian friendly. There's walking trails, there's lots of vegetation and, water features, and, one of the first things we wanted to do was help Excel meet the business needs that they have. While their back of the house is probably about 90% of their site, and it's very important to their function, but it needed to be screened from the road, and views from neighboring residential or, neighboring properties to the north that actually sit higher on the site, that will be looking down into the storage yard. So there was a combination of screen walls and, vegetation to help, mitigate the views into the laydown yard and the vehicle storage. And with that, there will be community artwork and murals that will be along some of the building corners as well as these site walls. So the community will decide on a theme, and then Excel will pick an artist. Could be a painted mural or a screen, some sort of transfer to the public walkways and corners where people that are driving by or walking by will get a nice view of the artwork. Secondly, the employee parking was another large, you could say, program requirement that we were trying to screen with the building. And there's a high grade shift from one side of the site to the other. So we really benefited that with tucking as much as the building into that grade as we could, so that from the street level, you're actually coming in on level 2. And it feels like the whole building is kind of lowered into the ground, so we're getting a lot of that function kind of, yes. Yep, so when you're entering, you feel like the building is at a more pedestrian scale, even though inside you're 3 levels, because there's one below grade. So it was, a lot of grading with our civil engineers, but they made it work. And so when you walk in or bike in, you come right off the sidewalk, right into the employee entrance, and then you have your office building. And then, let's see, let's go to the next one. Yep, so then this is kind of the main entrance, and then off to the right, there's a retaining wall with a large water feature. And off to the left, there's a pond too that will, be water retained, there you go, that's a good view of it. So our civil engineers are capturing as much water on site as possible to be held on the site, to be slowly let back into the environment. So it doubles as a feature, but then also serves an important purpose for the site, because we do have a lot of impermeable surfaces here. So that was one of the first kind of most important design decisions that we made to try to do that, to reduce our water runoff to the neighboring sites.
Yeah, and I think one thing to note, as Amanda mentioned with the grades there, we use that to our benefit to try to hide and shelter that storage laydown space on the north side of the building. So it's a little hard to see in some of the renderings here with the trees and landscaping as it's going in there, which is really the intent, that it would be visible from any of the neighboring towns.
Right, so this is one of the outside corner views coming down McKnight. This is a example of the end of the pedestrian bike path that kind of goes along the north side of the site. So it's a good opportunity to showcase that we need that art, that heroes.
You may want to speak up just a little bit next to our heat breeze.
And another image of just the grade change from Arlington and showing just how much the screening and the grade and the vegetation will mask the picture of it.
So with this project, I mentioned, or Amanda mentioned as well, working with the Port Authority on the Heights guidelines. Sustainability is a big aspect of that. So with all the buildings within the development, they will be going LEED Silver on that. So 50% better than ASHRAE, the energy code. Wildan has been key in reviewing that, going through evaluating the various different types of mechanical electrical systems for the building to really help us lower down that energy usage. So the building is all electric, with one caveat that Xcel Energy is a gas company. So they do require a small gas service within their site just for testing and calibration of the equipment that they're using in the field on a regular basis. And then another part of that sustainability piece is metering and reporting of energy usage, as well as building life cycle cost analysis, reducing the initial cost of the building. So some of the key items that we have been looking at as we've been going through working on the energy model is the building envelope, looking at a very robust insulation to cut down on heating and cooling loads, efficient structural base, and then also looking at the window glazing and how that impacts not only the operation of the building, but also the users within there. So one of the other items that I got a little bit further down in there is the daylighting studies. So again, working with Wildan on what the daylighting model looks like so that we can reduce the need for electric for lighting. So heating and cooling for the building will be primarily by a geothermal system. So we've been working with a number of vendors to evaluate different systems. Currently, the most economical and efficient system for this is a ground coupled system. So it's actually an aquifer system that was originated in Minnesota here, and it's been used quite a bit across the Midwest. So it recirculates in that air or that water for heating and cooling in the building. So,
How many feet does it go down?
yeah, so
Interesting.
I think that's, 450
Yeah.
feet, is what they did the test well out there, so.
There'll be 8 to 12 rows or something.
So, and that's another portion of it, it drastically reduced the number of wells that are needed, so. And then we're looking at on the mechanical systems, heat recovery in the shop, so again, trying to use as much of the energy that is produced within the building, to lower those operating costs. Through the energy modeling. Couple of other, items that are on there, is renewable energy, the solar panels, so part of the guidelines, we're looking at maximizing the amount of solar panels on the building roofs, so a little bit hard to tell in the image here, but the whole office area, the 3-story building, that will be covered with solar panels, as well as the shops along the north side, and then a portion on the fleet building, which numbers we've got here right now as we're calculating it out, it's about a 1 megawatt, megawatt PV system on the building, and then the EV chargers. So there's going to be various chargers, not only for employees and visitors that are coming to the site on a regular basis, but also Xcel Energy's their commitment to going full EV. So there'll be a number of chargers throughout the laydown space. For fleet trucks. For the fleet trucks, so. Travis, you want to maybe just briefly go over construction schedule we're looking at? And
Yeah. So we are currently in to the city of St. Paul for grading permit, so obviously you've probably seen a lot of activity already on the site for the past year. We're looking to officially get started on this project within the next 6 weeks or so, so right around Labor Day. You'll start to see footings and foundations get placed sometime in October, with precast structure being installed hopefully right towards the end of the year. Interior build out will follow next spring, and hopefully a year from today, we're even starting to do some pavement, landscaping, et cetera. So there's a lot of tail end work with mechanical systems and getting everything commissioned and ready to go, so that the target substantial completion is April of 2026. So, and then of course there'll be some back and forth with Excel and fixturing out the building, and more activity even in the coming months after that.
the last slide I had in here was just your logistics plan.
Yeah, general logistics plan, we're gonna have a temporary site fence around the entire site, just for security purposes and just to ensure that pedestrians, have a barrier, to the site. We're gonna plan to utilize the current access that's coming right off of McKnight, and as Howard gets built out, hopefully direct, most of that construction traffic directly into the site. And then, we kind of noted around there, it does ebb and flow, right, as we construct the building and have different laydown areas. But essentially, we work to contain all of our traffic within our site.
And I think your plan is construction, essentially they'll start on the west side and track east across the site.
Yeah, we'll start with the office structure, major retaining walls off the structure, build the precast parking deck. Come back, finish out with the second and third stories, and then sometime likely next spring, we would actually build the fleet building, so you won't see that go up in sequence. We're gonna utilize that area as just open space for us to do our work and get site utilities and other major underground components in place. And yeah, as we continue to work through that, I would say even by next spring, give or take, we would try to start getting the precast site wall. It's basically a 10-foot precast screen wall, starting to be placed in around the entire 20.5 acres.
So that is what we've got for you tonight. I guess open it up if there's any questions, happy to answer as much as we can.
Thank you for doing geothermal.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a fun learning experience just to go through and evaluate the different systems and working with the vendors on them, so.
I actually worked at Rice Street for a number of years.
Oh, okay.
So is a credit union coming?
Yeah.
You know that building well.
Loaded
I came
question.
From the transformer shop from the fifties through the late seventies, so
Okay.
I know we walked up that steps in the back, waited for him there at that gate, you know, at the door there, so yeah. It was a long time I walked in and out of that building, before we had security. They let us kids in there in those days.
Sure.
How many employees
So,
total when all is done? Are they gonna fluctuate?
it will, and I guess I can kind of speak to it. I mean, Amanda probably knows those numbers.
The busier days will be about 350 employees. There are 450 that report to the building, but there's a lot of hybrid work. So I would expect on a normal day about 250 to 300. But it fluctuates greatly.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that staff that's coming in, on a daily basis, you know, like I mentioned earlier, those are the line crews, so they're coming in early in the morning, getting their assignments, getting into their vehicles and then heading out for the day, so. Certainly, as with any rush hour traffic, you know, you see a little bit more traffic in the morning and towards the end of the day as those crews are making the transition in and out.
Some are 24/7, so they have shift work, so they're also off hours.
That's mostly that's our gas control and dispatch. Yeah. So those are all office people. Our field and shop people aren't 24/7, so you'll be quiet during the night.
Oh, yes.
I do have a question online, Rebecca. Don't forget to unmute.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate all the information on kind of the environmental steps and it's helpful to see too some of the landscaping and how you all are imagining that. I was wondering, I know the renderings often don't show some level of detail. Is the plan currently to have sod brought in around the trees, or has any thought been put into, you know, you'd kind of talked about trying to reduce gas and pollution, and I was wondering if you had looked into putting in native prairie seed mix, kind of like the state's lawn de legumes program that they're really promoting over doing sod grass.
Well, yes, so a lot of the grass that you're seeing in the renderings here will be kind of a low maintenance, more native grasses in there. There's just a couple of small, more turf areas that would be around entry areas, but for the most part, it is all very low maintenance grass in there. So it really, and a lot of it is building on what LHB is putting together just for the general landscape plan is kind of going with that more native prairie.
That's in line with the lead requirements too.
Right, yep.
And to
Thank
piggyback
you.
on that, the tree maturity, so I know a lot of times trees are very small on the windrows, are they gonna be a more mature tree or? They're gonna have you timed up?
That's a good question, and that's one of the hard things with the renderings is we put them together, you know, we want to show the end result with it. But a lot of the trees will be, you know, kind of that smaller, I think typically they're 1.5 to 2 inch diameter trees, type things, so.
Yeah, it'll take a few years to mature, yeah.
There is one very mature fir oak on the site that's existing, that we've been working around to preserve. Yeah.
I have two questions. What's gonna happen with the former site in St. Paul on Rice Street?
Well, it'll be going on the market. I don't know, we actually have a buyer in line. But we have been talking to the city. They've had an interest in purchasing the property, but I don't know where that's sitting right now, but. it will be put on the market.
Okay. And then, what you're saying, that's potential for 350 to 400 employees. That's a lot of vehicles coming into my neighborhood, and I live right up the street from it. Like, what is your process of directing those vehicles onto McKnight and not coming onto Ivy Avenue? Or hitting Howard more, or, what is your process of, with the staff? And I'm sure that's down the road, but, that's kind of a little worrisome on my part.
Sure. So, yeah, and I think that's part of working with WSD on their traffic study, how the flow goes through the development as a whole. I certainly understand Xcel Energy's, site coming in there and then subsequent properties being constructed as it goes further, to the north, so, I don't know that I have a definite answer for you on that as far as traffic flow and how that's managed and maintained. I do know that it was evaluated by WSB.
And I'm sure we'll communicate with our employees that as you come to the site, these should be the routes you take. So we're not disrupting neighborhoods that should be.
And I guess another thing is there a direct route for vehicles, like XL vehicles, out of the site? I mean, are they gonna be coming down Ivy Avenue through the neighborhoods, or are they gonna, I can imagine they would go the bus direct route, but is there like is this delivering, like, this is the route we'll take out of the site?
I imagine the more commons will be coming out to Arlington and then out to McKnight.
There's actually directions from the city that require right only or left only turn. And the size of the vehicle and turning radiuses, certain roads, they will not be able to turn onto because they're too big.
Great.
And so the traffic study that was done by our civil engineers came in under count for the development as a daily traffic flow, just under the count, so we're below what's allowed. But then also, there's, out of Howard and Arlington, trucks will have to go up from our site.
So that's a residential street right now, though.
Well, it's actually a new street. That's what
New
it is.
street, yeah.
It's extended across from Arlington, so the one you're thinking of exists with the residents. We're
It's
across.
residential, this is an extension of Arlington.
Okay.
You're absolutely right, it is a residential.
So when you say Arlington, they're gonna come down Howard, turn on Arlington and go out to McKnight.
Okay,
They're not
Yeah,
gonna turn and go into the neighborhood.
So
unless they're servicing your house.
But yeah.
But
So-
it's direct.
actually, the main truck traffic is gonna be coming in and out of Arlington.
yeah, and that's, as I was kind of explaining, it's
They're
like,
probably taking the left and going to McKnight and then heading out from there.
right. So,
And not going through the neighborhood.
so yeah, that's the intent and the flow, everything is going on, out of Arlington to McKnight and then north-south,
Other questions for our team Roads Excel?
All right, oh, that was.
Good
easy.
start. Thank you.
If someone leaves this meeting and says, oh my gosh, I forgot to ask, should I forward that to you?
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome.
And forward on any questions, and I'd be happy to reach out and get your answers on it.
And as you all heard with the now recording, this will be recorded and placed on our website hopefully tomorrow, barring any technical glitches that seem to be plaguing me this week. So if you have friends, neighbors who want to see this presentation, just kind of either send them over to your staff or to the website directly. All right, well, thank you. All right, our next item is, we had some questions and sent a letter to Habitat for Humanity, as well as to the St. Paul Port Authority with some questions that we had about the development. How do we want to do that? Do you want to just start throwing out questions, or should we start, do you have like a little mini presentation or anything that you want to start with?
Well, I'll let you guys, I don't have anything prepared, but I have maps and figures to try and solve for questions off of But I guess I'm not sure if you guys have something that you can.
Yeah, maybe we'll run through some stuff. The question about the history of geothermal that Jack can probably speak to, but I can. And then we can.
Do you, oh, I see you are trying to get up. That was my next question.
Yeah. Thank you. Do you want me to sit here or move?
Wherever you're comfortable.
I'm comfortable anyway.
All right, you are all set. You should be able to share if you have something to share. Hell yeah, I'm plagued by technical glitches. lately. I'm sharing it with you, Chad. There we go. Maybe? There we go.
Sure, okay. I'm afraid I didn't anticipate quite the crowd that we have here, so I only have a small, inadequate supply of materials here, so hopefully I'll can share. So I'm Chad Dittman, Land Development Director at Princeton Habitat for Humanity. I've been serving as the project manager for our portion of the Heights project since we got involved. This is my boss, Cecile. She handed stuff for me. So we received a letter and I'd like to respond to that. But I'll just provide a little update, overview and update of where we're at for folks who may or may not be as familiar. So we are scheduled to build out 4 blocks that run in between Howard and Winthrop on the west-south side of the project.
I want to see the map for orientation.
Yes.
No. Or if you want
I like the
Sorry, hold this one. We're talking about, maybe or these 2 blocks here.
So at the bottom street is
Ivy, so yeah, like Ivy up to Arlington. And between Winthrop and House, the new.
Yeah, I've got it up on the screen there as well.
Oh, great.
I'll get some more. So we can see it. Or, yes, United is on the plan north, Larpenter land west. Winthrop, which only exists here. And then Winthrop, which would be to be built here. We're targeting all 4 of these blocks. We're focused on the first 2 blocks, or the southern 2 blocks is our phase 1 that we currently own and are funded for, and are also waiting for a grading permit. So get out of the way, so. This is Excel property here, the big one, across or on those 4 blocks, we are planning on 147 units. Phase 1, we're at 74 units. We have laid out the other 2 blocks, and we can get 73, but we haven't gone through formal site plan review on that, on those blocks yet. Those units are comprised of singles, twins, 3-unit townhomes and 4-unit townhomes. And our big schedule driver is the Carter Work Project, which we are hosting, which is kind of a Super Bowl Habitat volunteer events. We're hosting that the first week of October, which starts in September. And we intend to have 40 units available for volunteers to work on that week. We have partnered with Doran Companies for architectural design as well as general contracting of the townhome buildings. And then Habitat will build the singles into it.
So here's just a map again, you can kind of see on the bottom half there how the units are laid out. The ones that are in blue and red boxes are the ones that we're planning for the Carter Work project, except that the red box should now mirror, we're starting at the north end of block 3. So here's an aerial view of what those look like. Showing the solar, this kind of depicting solar panels. On everything, we are actually moving forward with solar shingles. So we won't have the racked panels. There's some of the townhomes, renderings of the townhomes. The ones on block 3 are, the townhomes are 3 stories. All with the tuck under garage. And all the singles and twins in the townhomes on block 4 are 2-story. With attached. But not tucked under garages. Here's a little bit of information about the sales scheme. So you may have, I think before I told you all that we were budgeting for about 800,000 units. Actually, Doran has gone out to bid and we have those bids in and they came in quite splendidly. And so we're now at about 700,000 units, which is somehow cheaper than our last townhome project over in Minneapolis, so kind of amazing. It's still fantastically expensive and not what people can afford. And much more than what our projected fair market values are for those units. So as you can see, we've showing unit values. These are based on an appraisal, current time frame appraisal. And we have units, like the smallest is the 3-bedroom townhome, the biggest is the 5-bedroom single. We've got 4-bedroom towns, 4-bedroom twins, 5-bedroom twins. Those prices are still more than what low and moderate income families can afford. And so we're subsidizing those. And you can see in the income requirement section there that we're targeting to have 25% of the units sold to families between 45 and 60% AMI. AMI is area median income. The current area median income for the Twin Cities is 125,000 for a family. And that, so that income range varies depending on the size of the family. So 25% of the units below 60% AMI. I do have an error in it. 50% of the units from 61% to, this should be an 80, I'll answer that. 61 to 80% AMI. And 25% of the units between
Teams wants to watch.
take over for 25% of the units at 80 to 100%. So the lowest income that one could have or a family could have and afford the unit as it's subsidized, most heavily subsidized unit is 60,000. And the maximum income, which would be a larger family at 100% income, is 100. If a family who is either at this minimum or has maybe more than that but wants to buy a more expensive unit, could bring down payment, either their own cash or if they could get additional down payment assistance that we haven't brought to the table, then that income could go lower. And when people hear townhomes, they think HOAs, which is appropriate, everything will be in an HOA. Right now, we're budgeting for that fee to be 400. So, any questions just on that overview? Excellent. All right, so turning our attention to the questions raised in the letter. So start with the question about energy efficiency to energy supply. Heating and cooling of the houses. So at the time that we were designing and speccing out and then bidding out these units, we did not have enough information to commit to a district geothermal energy system. And I think we're still not. So we went with what is either the next best alternative or the better alternative, depending on what we find out, which is air source heat pumps. So a geothermal system is a heat pump. Heat pump is something that sucks heat out of one substance and puts it into another substance. So a geothermal system sucks heat out of the ground or out of groundwater and puts it into a refrigerant that's circulated in a building and converted to either radiant or convective heat. Heat the air to heat the occupants. Air source heat pump does the same thing, it's just able to suck that heat out of air instead of earth or water. When it's cooling, those devices are more efficient than most air conditioners that are out there that are on our houses. They are fantastically efficient. When they're heating, they're 300 to 400% efficient. It means they're pulling more heat out of the air, even out of sub-zero temperature air, than they're using in energy to do that. So they're just amazing devices. And we're able to heat with those, because it's an all-electric development, you have to heat with electricity. That's a heating device that uses electricity by pulling heat out of the air instead of just burning electricity to make electric resistance. So they're very, very efficient. I'm gonna pull up some examples to share with you. For comparative purposes. First, this was just Cecile can attest. It was one. Let's see a different page. Right. Hold the phone. One sec, sorry. Trying to get this to pull up in a regular view. So 1065 Gorman is an example of a 5-bedroom house that we recently built in West St. Paul. This was not an all-electric house, so it was just a gas furnace, no air conditioning. Our typical wall assembly and insulation windows is kind of a standard habitat house. We use this home energy rating system as our metric measuring system for how energy efficient our houses are. Industry standard type of thing. Center for Energy Environment rates our houses. So our CUR score for this house is 46. Pretty energy efficient in comparison to the average house, or in comparison even to a Minnesota Energy Code built house. We do a really good job with efficiency. So the annual savings in comparison to an average US home, which does include old houses, is $1,750. If we take a look at the 5-bedroom single family house, which is the largest house we're building, So it uses the most energy. And in this model, we've assumed a 7.5 kilowatt array, solar array. It will actually be larger. This hasn't been updated or actual solar arrays that we're able to do. The HERS score, and then with the other additional energy efficiency features that we're doing on these houses, including the air source heat pump, heating and cooling system, air source heat pump, water heater, better windows, more insulation. The HERS score has gone down to 21. The goal is 0. 0 is net zero energy. So less is more. So we have more than half the energy rating. I don't know if we more than half that, but that there may be one approach. So in comparison to an average US home, we're saving annually $3,600. So that's about a $1,900 improvement in comparison to a Habitat house, which is already better than most other houses out there. So we're doing pretty good. And then if we look at, this is one of the 3-bedroom interior townhome, 3-story townhomes, with the smallest unit. So it has the least energy use. This model still is assuming a 7.5 kilowatt array. We can't get that big in reality. So this is a little bit overstating this HERS score. It's gonna go, the number's gonna go up. Because we're generating a little less electricity than this model is showing. But again, really good HERS score, a lot of savings in comparison to an average US home and a typical Habitat house. So it's our opinion, and it has been accepted by the Port Authority under their design guidelines review process, that we're meeting the spirit of the highest development, the most energy efficient development in the state.
One question, are all those houses tied into natural gas?
None of the houses are tied into natural gas. No natural gas.
No, on your examples.
Only the first Gorman house. The first Gorman house is a typical Habitat house with a gas furnace. The two others are models of the Heights.
Oh, got it.
So only electric. Any other questions on energy use?
I would ask if most of these homes are, they have underground electric service for their homes. So where are you bringing the major power lines into this? Is it getting down Winthrop Street?
No, they'll be down the alleys.
Interior to the site.
Yeah, okay. Underground, down the alleys, transformers will be along the alleys.
And the transformer will be all on the ground?
Correct.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
So with the air, I see a lot of, I just came back from East Coast and I see a lot of the air pumps out there. And their air difference, or temp difference at max is, 20, 30 degrees. Ours can be up to 50 plus. And the heat air pumps are not as efficient when you start getting into those extremes. So
Danny, you might want to speak up just a touch.
yeah, but so your examples here show our projections. They're not. So this, the only real property is the first one, a real.
Only
Yeah,
house that
and
we're
we're-
built that we have a
yeah.
model of, is built, and we have a model.
Okay, great. Because I know was it Burlington or Rockford, Habitat did a community in geothermal. And even that climate is a little bit warmer than ours. And with the project of this size, this magnitude, and the increase in housing costs, you'd think maybe we could go to the states, to the Green Bank, try to find some funding to get tied into geothermal. And take the time to source it. Find the funding. Because we're gonna price people out of these funds.
So. I think I've already,
Or put natural gas.
okay, so that's not an option, and that's not under our control. I think I've just demonstrated that these families are gonna save $1,900 approximately per year in comparison to a typical Hamilton house. They're at 3,000 plus in comparison to a regular house. You can see on those models what the actual energy cost is per year. Ranging from $335, which is overstating it because the model hasn't been updated, so maybe it's $400 a year with the correctly sized solar array, to $785 a year. That's pretty darn efficient.
Right, but with inflation, it's not quite as effective.
And
With-
I mean,
with-
natural gas is not immune to inflation.
No, it's not. It's always cheaper than electric.
It's not, but again, it's not an option for us.
Sure. So let's spend the time to, find some funding for actual geothermal system.
Well, the supposition there is that geothermal is a better option. Do you have evidence that it is?
Yeah. I mean, I think the state of New York has that model on their own state website. Those numbers are up. Much more effective than air pump.
Much more effective than 400 to 8% a year.
As far as percentage of, energy not used, not dollars. It's, like, what is, like the last time I looked at it, it was about, 70% more effective to use geothermal than it was to do an air. Especially when you have the heat spread that we have, or the energy spread from 50 degrees from heating more.
Well, I will say, sorry, Catherine Sarnacki from the St. Paul Port Authority, we looked at it with our consultants as well. To try and do geothermal for the whole site when we started this. And based on the cost to build that out and the efficiency that we saved, the modeling didn't prove that we could ever pay back a geothermal system by energy savings. So we have tried very hard to get funding for this system. And right now, the biggest bite that we're able to take is to service the 6 multifamily housing buildings and 4 industrial buildings. And we know that Excel will have their own geothermal system. So we're excited that so much of the site will have geothermal. But in our evaluation, I think we would have used a little more energy with the air source heat pumps. We can't find a way to recover the cost of it. And so if you know of other sources,
Sure.
we've been barking up a lot of trees, including the Green Bank, including the state. Because we want to push the technology as well. And the timeline, especially for these 2 blocks, just doesn't allow it.
Right.
The exciting thing for us is hopefully starting around August 1st, we'll be putting in distribution pipe for the geothermal system that's out there. Unfortunately, it will not include any of the 4 low density residential blocks.
Because the opportunity lost here is the houses that people are gonna own are not gonna have the efficiency of geothermal, like all the rentals or the
Yeah.
private business. And so that, as a community, that's kind of a blow.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we can't find a way to fund geothermal for the whole site. I do think that these houses and the values of them are such that they are great wealth creation options. The amount of efficiency that's in them and the work that's done for sustainability and solar shingles do create a lot of wealth for the community and all that own them.
But then there's the overlay of the HOA. So that kind of, that draws out from some of that efficiency. Of the geothermal. As the overall,
No, yeah,
I don't-
HOA has no impact on energy efficiency, I mean, it's,
As far as dollars spent from the family, it does. Right?
right, but the HOA fee will be the HOA fee regardless of the energy source of these houses.
And it's keeping it in very with the affordability and what the subsidy amount is. So it is still an extremely affordable
Sure.
and energy efficient. And while it would be great to have geothermal, I know on this side of what is happening is really remarkable and it hasn't happened before. And for any, if you go out and buy any other house, you're not gonna realize this kind of savings. So the fact that we moved to this, we're hoping that this will serve as a model for info houses, not just large facilities. So this would be great. We can't do it for this one. And as I was saying, the Green Bank and the state, we are hopeful that this will become more of a norm in the state of Minnesota, but right now it's the Port Authority and District Energy that are kind of leading that charge. And then hopefully, just like LEED, LEED's kind of become a standard right now in terms of the market. You don't really talk about it more because we just expect it to be there. But the hope is by demonstrating it through what the board is doing on this site, this will help get more funding for it to show that it's effective.
So could we possibly look at this later, earmark it for later down the line, once the funding's available?
You need to convert.
I mean, if that district energy utility wants to run those pipes and make it available, then yeah, those air source heat pumps have a lifespan, so if the economics work out at that time, sure, I don't see why not, but I think a lot of things have to fall into place for that.
But it might. It might be 5 years, it might be 10, but it might.
I just have a question, it's probably a silly one. Being a homeowner and just had to put money into my furnace, how maintenance free is this gonna be for? I mean, it's just, you're moving to a place, you want peace of mind. And it's like, how maintenance free is this going to be for the new homeowners and then durable? I mean, like, is this, I'm not gonna have to, they're not have to worry about this for, I don't know, 10 years. I'm just. You wanna make it a win-win, and especially for the people that are gonna move in. And it's not something they're gonna have to worry about, or like the level of maintenance. I mean, like, okay, you change your furnace filter here and there, but is it going to be pretty much stress-free and maintenance-free for the people who are going to be living there? I mean, I'm not gonna have to replace it in 10 years because the stupid thing broke.
They have comparable warranties to furnaces.
Okay.
And regular AC.
Okay.
What a heat air source heat pump effectively is an air conditioner that runs forwards and backwards. So it sucks, well, what a regular AC does is suck heat out of the house and put it outside, right? That's what an air source heat pump does in the summer. In the winter, air source heat pump sucks warmth out of the air, it's cold, and puts that warmth into the house, which is running in the opposite direction. Same coolant, same overall principle of heating and cooling, a special refrigerant that does the job for us. There's different varieties of ways that heat can be delivered to the inside of the house, and you may be familiar with those rectangular fan things that you see on walls here and there, that have a little louver that'll start blowing. Those are called mini splits. They're really effective and popular for retrofits. In a new construction situation where we have to have a system that supplies fresh air, we have to blow fresh air in and out all the time. So we've got to put in piping for that. In that scenario, it's more effective to just hook up that air source heat pump to an air handler which then supplies heating, cooling, and fresh air once. So it's essentially the same thing as an air conditioner. It's a condenser outside. Refrigerant pipes come inside into a coil that sits in that air plenum. Air blows through that and picks up either the heat or the cool and distributes that to the house. So there's no internal flame, so there's no risk of carbon monoxide issues, no fire issues. And they work the same as an air conditioner, so they're robust, they have the same warranty. And, actually have fewer moving parts than furnace.
A couple questions not related to the heat pump. Are there any units sold or when will they be sold?
There are no units even built, and we don't really do pre-sales this early. No.
It looks like there's not any site work going on or very minimal site work, so, and we're talking October to do this, and you're already August first. What's the plan?
Is to try to not have a heart attack. We're expecting that grading permit tomorrow. So please call and tell them that prepare to open. And we will start the next day.
These units don't have basements, correct?
Yeah, correct.
$700,000 to build our unit seems like a lot of money. Like, that seems kind of ridiculous with no basement or anything like that.
They like decorating.
Maybe take me through on how does it cost that much? And where is this coming from?
So 700,000 is the total development cost, so that's pre-acquisition, pre-development, legal, all that other stuff you can't see that we've got to do, and then site work, infrastructure, construction of the units. So it adds up fast. We paid $2.5 million for the land. Plus in that is another $550,000 contribution to infrastructure work that's funded by the city. Weird thing going on. We have to put in the alley on both blocks. We have both a public sanitary sewer line and private water coming into the two outlots on block 3 to serve those townhomes that are kind of facing inside, so we've got some utility work. And then you had no basements, but still good size square footage. And energy efficiency and solar costs money. So all of that hard cost, most of that hard cost is already bid out. That's what the market provided. So Doran bid out all the site work and they bid out the town hall. So, they're putting in some of our foundations, so part of our work is pretty. We're out for bid right now. We're anticipating, similar costs for the work that we have some contractors to. So that just, it's what it is, it's what it costs, everything's expensive. There was something else, we are, subject to a project labor agreement by virtue of having more than $200,000 in state funding. So we are paying, and a prevailing wage requirement, so we're paying prevailing wage. All the subcontractors have to agree to the project labor agreement, which requires contribution to the union fringe benefit pool, even if they're not a union shop. All of the contractors that bid on Doran's work are union shops. Which you want people to get paid for their work, a reasonable wage, that costs money. Architecture, civil engineering, legal, we got a lot of agreements involved with this thing.
And I'll say one of the reasons we're so excited to work with Habitat is we couldn't have affordable ownership if we didn't have a partner like Habitat. They bring in the fundraising, donations, they are subsidizing over half the cost of all of these homes. That's the work that they do out in the community and bringing people in.
So what you're saying is that the $700,000 house is actually 1.4 million?
No, what I'm saying is the purchase price that you'll need to pay is about $350,000. $350,000.
Okay.
No,
But
that's the value.
That's the value at the end, not how, got it. Sorry.
Cost of $700,000 to produce a house that's worth $320,000. That differential is called development gap. That we experience development gaps whenever we're building in either the two inner cities and even in inner ring suburbs. Costs more to build than the houses were. When you're doing affordable housing, when you're doing small, simple. If you can throw, you know, granite, stainless steel, blah, 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 all this other stuff on it and make them look bigger, then you get to a profitable situation. And you're you charge 800,000 for your 700. I'm sorry, I'm gonna flip, I gotta put this back in the presenter over here. So these are the fair market values for these houses today. Maybe a bit more, a year or two. What we're selling them for, what we're selling them for ranges, it's because there's a whole range, is 119,000 is the cheapest one. To, a large, you know, like 100% or 95% AMI family can afford the fair market value. So units that we have pegged for the higher incomes will be paying fair market value more or less. But we're subsidizing for this family at 60,000, the units down to 119,000. So their first mortgage that they're making payments on, 119,000. So there's a $600,000 subsidy going for that unit. And that's what our where everywhere you can possibly imagine. So we have committed sources coming from the couple of sources from the state of Minnesota, the city, 2 different sources of TIP funding coming from the city. That's tax increment financing. Hennepin County, Ramsey County. We are doing something called a new market tax credit deal, which is effectively federal funding. We've applied to another federal source. Federal Home Loan Bank, we have an application out there. And then we have, because of the high profile Carter Work project, generated about $3 million of kind material donations. And about $5 million in cash so far. So our average first mortgage, they call both first mortgages, 74 units, average based on some assumptions about what those incomes actually are going to be. We have to project that. It's 220,000. So our average first mortgage is 220,000. Average fair market value is, I think, like 329. So an average affordability gap subsidy of 109,000. And then the average development gap for some of this is still based on some assumptions, but the assumptions we have right now, they're still fundraising in place. Good. It's not another thing over here. You got okay.
Question about the HOA.
Yeah.
That's just the line, and I know can't avoid that, but are you covering pretty much everything with that, or are people gonna have to mow their own lawns?
No, yeah, it is a lot. The vast majority of the HOA fee is made up of insurance and reserve fund. We're being very conservative in our reserve fund planning right now, so that which is the savings account for the HOA to pay for exterior structural and grounds repairs over time. So we're making them save a lot. So that they have that money and don't have to do special assistance.
Please.
But this fee would, include budget for landscaping, speed, subcontractor, snow and condition. We are planning for the HOA to remove snow on the avenue.
Right.
And minor maintenance, all mixed in.
Done on a quick, like this.
This is way larger than anything we've done.
That issue, people being able to keep up with their HOA fee, whether that's gonna increase at some point. You know, you don't know when, hope to keep it low as low as you can, for sure. But if you're really keeping it high in hopes to save for the person who isn't the great saver, that's good. But also if it's gonna keep the increase, that's, you're saying at the low end, 120,000 for the house. That's what, that's 1,500 for a mortgage, probably a little more with today's interest rates. So,
We offer a lower interest rate.
okay, so you're gonna better, and then you're adding $2,000, which I guess is fair compared to a lot of rents these days, but that's not exactly low. And I know that's the way housing is, but it's kind of, it makes me a little sick in the tummy. I'm never moving.
Yeah, well, that's probably wise, so. Yeah, but. Too small, needs to, but, the $60,000 family paying 119. That's still only 30% of their income. That's only established at mortgage, 30% of that $60,000
Okay.
income.
But that's
Is
30%.
their housing, sorry, we take 60,000, 30% of that goes towards housing costs. Housing cost is PID, principal, interest, tax, and insurance, and HOA. So they pay the HOA fee, that means we can charge them less than the insurance. Yeah, that HOA fee might go up. But the bulk of it is, like I said, reserve levels, which is planned to go up each year, 3 or 4%, but it's planned. And insurance will go up, but so will their, so would any homeowner's insurance, which is my insurance.
They'll be kind of, they're going
Okay, a homeowners association will eventually run their own show, they'll have elect people from their community to choose who to supply insurance or do it there.
I don't need to see.
So these people that are coming in, and you'll advise them on this, that they're gonna have to take responsibility as a group and maintain the whole community.
Correct, yeah. A portion of our homeowner education or people buying into an HOA is about that. What it means to live in an HOA, responsibilities incumbent to that. We and they continue to do this, hire a property management company to advise them to deal with the budget. So. We'll put that out for RFP when we get closer to the meeting.
Have you thought about doing a cooperative instead of something like that? Form,
No, we do fee simple, sales. We haven't gotten into the problem with this. Move on to a couple other points that were in the letter that address those. So it seemed like there was a concern about our use of volunteer labor. I'm sorry to say that is who Habitat is. We are a volunteer-based organization. For 35 years, we have been the largest provider of affordable homeownership in the metro area. Because we are a volunteer-based organization. That provides us with cost savings, delivery of these houses, as well as those volunteers contribute a large portion of right. We are diverging from that. In order to bring this project to completion more quickly than due to volunteers by hiring Doran. So, the screen and on that handout, put in some numbers there. And there's a spreadsheet in there of the contractors that Doran has hired. So 100% of what Doran, of the units that Doran is producing is subcontracted labor. All union, all prevailing wage, all the fringe benefits. All presumably living somewhere around here. We're gonna use our volunteer model on 25 of the 74 units. That doesn't mean they do everything. We still hire out excavation, concrete, HVAC, electric, plumbing, roofing, taping, spray foam insulation, water. So we still have to hire out a lot of highly skilled or highly mentored trades. Volunteers do framing, insulating, air sealing, siding, sheetrock, and interior finishes. So we still, about 65% of our cost to produce a house is in contract. So, we're hiring out, this, we're still out for bid, so we don't know our exact number, but approximately $35 million worth of subcontracted work being paid to local workers here. I think that kind of covers the main points of the letter. So I'll just wrap up on the collaboration for upward mobility. And we couldn't agree more. That's why we exist. Is to help low and moderate income families who do not have another option for home ownership, to retain home ownership, and to generate equity of them ownership, so that they can improve their lives, so that their kids are living in a safe, stable, affordable house. Which we think is the platform on which most people economic other success is. Houses, they're super very cost effective to operate. They're low maintenance. Affordable. So I just think we are on this. That's my spiel, and I'm happy to keep answering questions and converse. That's great.
Questions for Chad or Cecilia? That's how you do since we have Pat from the port, does anyone have any questions for the Port Authority? Nathan?
Absolutely. I am super disappointed in the way you are handling traffic around my neighborhood. I am fed up and upset with it to no end. It is ridiculous the way you closed up so many streets around us that we cannot operate in our neighborhood. It is ridiculous. Not only is McKnight closed down completely on Ivy Avenue, Teal Larpenteur and Ruth closed down, and then not to mention that Ramsey County had Whitewater Avenue and Larpenteur closed down. I have nowhere to go to get to Maplewood to go to my job. It's very frustrating and very disappointing that you can't line these things up, or at least keep a line of traffic open for us.
I agree. I'm trying to access the site myself and couldn't get from the west side to the north side of the project without going a long ways away. So I've been talking to the city and Ramsey County as well. Cause I think it's a safety and security issue as well, that can't get in and out. And then the mobile apps, you know, they say you can turn on Carpenter where you can. Having problems. But, so I feel your frustration and I'm trying to help resolve that, but there is a lot of different people doing work. The county, like you said, the county's doing work in one area in the cities. The problem is all of the road construction work has to be done while the buses aren't running for schools on the streets. So we're trying to cram a lot in, the city, the port, everybody's trying to cram in, but we do need to do a better job to coordinate, and I'm trying to help facilitate that.
You know, I think I'd feel different if I actually saw work happening. I will tell you on IP Avenue has been tore up for several weeks with no work actually happening to it. Now I do see work happening because now you've closed off the entire Ivy Avenue to McKnight. And so I can understand, I do see an excavator there working. But, you know, on Root and Larpenter, they dug some holes, St. Paul, water. And now it's just sitting there, not open, not paved. Of course, they're probably doing more work, but you know, it's very difficult to move around our neighborhood.
I am equally as frustrated. The reason for the delay in work is the delay in permitting through the city of St. Paul. So I encourage you to call your city representatives. And I would appreciate the support. That they, instead of approving our plan and saying, go forth, they have picked off, you can do the sanitary sewer. Well, we don't want to keep Ivy closed for this period of time. Well, we have this temporary gravel road and temporary water service to these residents. It's not a good solution. We think it's unacceptable. It's still trying to work as fast as we can to get the rest of the utilities in and get it closed out.
I'm sorry, do you think it would be possible, you know, the update that comes out for the heights? It mentions everything inside the site, and maybe you don't have a timeline from these other facilities as to when they're gonna be on, you know, the residential streets on it. We never know when they're gonna dig holes in our yard. And so my side yard's torn up, my front yard's torn up, and they were there again today. And it would just be nice to know,
Yeah.
you know, so they're waving people down the street, you know, come on through, and he's more energetic, you know, and I'm the last house, and I just want to turn into my driveway, and he's like, come on, you stupid, come on, you know, and it's like, my driveway. So, yeah, so if there was some way that they could address the surrounding area in it, I don't know if there is or not, but it would be nice to know when they're gonna come and rip up your yard.
Okay. And we have representatives from Bolton and Mink that are construction supervisor on site. And if I can give them, if you want me to give them your phone number, they can contact you daily when they're gonna be at your house.
Well, I can see them on the front door.
And you want to talk to them, they should be out there and available to talk to help coordinate, but it's definitely a game of things, right? We're moving power poles, so we have to move Excel power, now Comcast is in there, now Lumen is in there. And so all these different people have to come do their piece.
Yeah, and we just wonder, when are they gonna rip up Winthrop? You know,
As soon as we get our permit.
that's the whole. So I am really sorry to do this, but the staff has just been flagging me down that we're getting very close to them being done for the night. Are there any, you know, last final questions that we have for some chat?
We would like to be in collaboration with you all. So if you guys are at a point where you guys could, reinstate your support of Habitat in the project for now, we would appreciate that. And we're moving forward on phase 1. We're gonna be back here with you for phase 2, and looking for kind of the same things that we need. Official approval to phase 2. We wanna be on same team as you guys, so if you could address that outside of the meeting, or I'm having Zach revisit them.
I feel we're on the same page. Is there any way we could get a commitment to looking at district energy or geothermal to add into the project further down the line when funds would be available.
I would commit that to you.
I'm sorry?
I commit that to you.
So we would need someone who's not the president to make a motion. Thank you.
Supports our friends at, Habitat.
I second.
Everyone.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Rebecca. I forget about you. All opposed?
Oh.
All right, motion passes. I will draft a letter.
For first thing, recording. It's so.
For dying from cards. And.
Do you, does it need to be?
Well, the best thing you can hire.
Thanks.